Shalom once again, and welcome to Treasures of the Torah. I'm Moreh Matan, Pastor Matt McEwen, and this week our Torah portion is called Emor. Now this week in our Torah portion, I want to get across two ideas for you this week for Treasures of the Torah. The first is, each day is a new chance to do things right, but also each day has a set of new challenges that we need to be ready for. So there's sort of a positive implication here that each day is like a clean slate, and we can try to do better than the day before. But also every single day we must accept the sovereignty of heaven, as we say in Judaism. So I'd like to read you a comment, as always during this Torah cycle, from this Torah commentary set called Wellspring of Torah. And this particular comment comes from Eglei Tal, in the name of his father. Let me read this to us. First of all, in chapter 22, verse 7 of our Torah portion, we have a curious verse that, let me just say this at the outset. I was speaking at our local Messianic synagogue just a few weeks ago when the rabbi was out of town, and I was speaking on a subject that, let's just say, some of the subjects that we read in the book of Leviticus, we might not think that they have an implication on our lives. We might not even think that they have a deep spiritual meaning for us personally, because it seems like, there's a lot of do's and don'ts. There's a lot of ritual. There's a lot of ceremony. There's a lot of priestly duties and things like that. But I preached from that particular Torah portion on something that applied directly to our lives in today, in the modern day. And I think this week is just like that. For instance, let me read you this verse in chapter 22, verse 7. When the sun has set, he shall become purified. Afterwards, he may eat of the holy things. How can we make a spiritual application for that for our lives today? Well, I'll explain it to you. Let me read this comment that comes down. At the outset of Tractate Brachot, the Mishnah specifies that the time limit for the reading of the Shema is identical with the time when the Kohanim who had been defiled might partake of their offering. Compare that with when is the Shema to be read in the evening service, when the priests go in to eat their offering. Why are these two time limits related to one another? Now, I will never forget the first time going through and reading through this tractate of the Talmud. I have one of those subscriptions, by the way. I have a full set of the Talmud Yerushalmi, the Jerusalem Talmud, which was very lovingly and generously gifted to me. Someone bought me the entire set of the Jerusalem Talmud. And little by little, volume by volume, for the last several years, I have been collecting, if you will, the Babylonian Talmud, the Talmud Bavli. I have one of these subscription services through Koren, where every other month they send me a volume, and I can't remember how much it is. It's $30-something a month or something like that. It's something very affordable for me, and it allows me to get the Talmud one volume at a time. But I'll never forget the first time I started reading the beginning of Tractate Brachot, and wondering why it was important that we learn when is the earliest time we can say the Shema, when's the latest time we can say the Shema. If you're not careful, you'll look at these things and you'll say, well, this just sounds like minutia. It just sounds like stuff that really doesn't apply to me, but it really does. There's always a spiritual application that we could make, whether it is in the scripture itself, whether it's in the traditional writings and the oral interpretation. There's always something that we can glean from a certain lesson. So anyway, at the beginning of Tractate Brachot, we have this discussion of the times of the Shema. What does that have to do with anything? Well, the question is asked, what do these two times how are they related to one another? What do the two times have to do with one another? At nightfall, it becomes permissible for the Kohanim to eat of their offering, even if they had been unpurified all day. They were not permitted to partake of it even after their immersion, but had to wait until the evening. This teaches us that the appearance of the first stars in the evening sky ushers in an entirely new period that has no connection with the day that just ended. From this we infer that when the evening comes, the Shema that we recited in the morning no longer has any effect, and we must renew our acceptance of the sovereignty of the kingdom of heaven with a new reading of the Shema. I love this comment because, first of all, what it says is, even if this group of Kohanim had been unpurified that day, they are not allowed to eat, the Torah says, of the offering that they're permitted to partake of until the evening. So that tells us a couple of things. Even their immersing doesn't take care of the matter. They have to wait until evening. And why is this? Well, it's because it's a new day. We know that the scripture says in the beginning of the book of Bereshit, in Genesis, that it was evening and morning one day. So we know, and we've known forever, if you've been following this channel and this ministry, you know that the day in Judaism starts at night, really. Well, it's sundown the previous day. So if it's Monday, so to speak, then at sundown, well, in Judaism, it becomes Tuesday. It's the next day. So I love the two things that were brought down here. That number one, they had to wait until the next day. And so what that means is this purification or this newness, this renewing happens at the evening. And so now they can partake of the sacrifice. This is really encouraging to me because what it says is yesterday is yesterday. This is a new period of time. We have a new chance. We have a new start. I love the grace that we have in the Torah and the grace that we have in Judaism that says, try to do better tomorrow than you did today. Try to do better next year than you did this year. Try to do better this year than you did last year. I love this hope that is built into that mindset, into that attitude. So every day gives us a new chance. Every day gives us a new opportunity. But look at what it said at the end there. What that tells us is if we said the Shema in the morning, and if truly at evening it's a new day, then it means that the Shema we said in the morning to take upon ourselves the authority, the yoke of the kingdom of heaven, no longer applies. We got to do it every day. We have to say the Shema anew. And I just think that's a wonderful way of looking at life, that every day counts. And every day we must renew our commitment. Every day we must accept upon ourselves the sovereignty of heaven. Yesterday, not only does yesterday's mistakes, not only does that not matter, but also yesterday's successes, triumphs, don't carry over. We have a whole new day. We need to get it right again. So it's not only a new opportunity, it's a new mission for us to complete. And so I just wanted to encourage you with that for this Shabbat. Take upon yourself the authority of the kingdom of heaven. Do it every day. Look at every day as a new opportunity, but also a new mission for you to go on in the authority and in the power of our Messiah. Thank you once again for joining me. I do wish you a wonderful, peace-filled Shabbat, and well, for you and your family. And if you're dealing with anything physical, I pray that you would have refuah shlema, that you have a full and complete healing and recovery in your body, in your soul, and in your spirit. Thank you once again for joining me. Shabbat shalom.